All right, there's been a lot of talk about SNAP benefits recently, and here in Alaska, very specifically, about the 66,000 Alaskans that are at risk for not being able to put food on the table for their families because of the shutdown that the Democrats have forced back in Washington, D.C. And, we've seen the governor here in the last couple days issue his emergency declaration. The state of Alaska is going to step up and provide, $5 and $10 million respectively to help fund the SNAP program and to help give money to these food banks that are in need. It has been absolutely inspiring to see all of our faith-based communities and our food banks step up to help out these Alaskans in their time of need. But an important component of this conversation that's missing is the fact that we have 66,000 Alaskans, roughly 9% of our population, that is dependent upon the federal government to put food on the table in the first place. 66,000 Alaskans who are meeting the minimum requirement to receive SNAP benefits is that you work 80 hours a month, so 20 hours a week. Of course, there's exceptions for those that have disabilities and can't work for other reasons. But we need to be having a conversation about why in Alaska do we have so many people who are on record as stating that for one reason or another, they cannot find a good paying job, that the cost of living here is so high that they can't provide for their families. That is the real crisis. That's the crisis that we need to be addressing. I would argue that no one wants to be dependent upon the federal government to be able to put food on the table for their family. And not only is it a reminder for all of us here, and as we look at those individual 66,000 Alaskans, but let it be a reminder to us as a state that whatever the federal government gives and provides, the federal government can take away. So while I would argue we don't want to be dependent upon the government to put food on our table, we most certainly don't want to be dependent upon the government for any of our statewide needs. This is an area that absolutely has got to get addressed. We need to talk about how we are going to create good paying jobs in this state, because 9% of Alaskans dependent on the government to feed their family is not an acceptable economy here.